Welcome to another episode of MSK Tech Show. I'm your host Manoj, and today I'm here to tell you that you should go back home and start learning Webpack. For those who are just getting started, Webpack seems like the dark side of web development, but it's not really the dark side. It is actually the brighter side, where you move your comfort zone and out of the way and throw it out of the window into the garbage. So I'll try to convince you that you should probably learn Webpack and stop relying on the boilerplates that are being given to you by various companies and various developers who have already used Webpack. And you should probably go and learn each and everything that Webpack is allowing you to do in the application. So I'll try my best. Let's see how it goes in the end. So Webpack, first of all, what in the world is Webpack? So our browsers, web browsers, they're not really so intelligent to understand every single thing that comes out in the market. That every single technology or every single type of file, the web browser, they don't care about all those things. They just care about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and images and fonts. So you might be using various different kinds of libraries, different kinds of files, different technologies, different programming languages to build web application. But at the end of the day, it all goes and sits inside your browser. And your browser is kind of dumb. It doesn't understand everything, and it doesn't have to understand everything. So all these libraries, all these technologies, languages that you learn and try to write code, end of the day you have to compile it back to JavaScript. That's how it goes in the web world. And there are different ways to compile things back to JavaScript. Some people call it as a transpilation method. Most famous transpilation method is using Babel, which transpiles your code. But Webpack is a kind of a tooling that is being developed around the JavaScript community, which is used to take all these files, bundle them together into a single file, in most cases a set of files. So it is going to take all those non-understandable things by the browser, and it is going to put all of them together in a package. It's going to pack all of them together in a way that the browser actually understands it. So it is all packing everything that the browser can understand, and hence the name Webpack, I believe. I have to look up on that if that is the reasoning behind it, but I'd like to keep it that way. So let me tell you a short story. Let's say you're looking out for a front-end job. I'm sure most of you are looking out front-end job because I come to see a lot of messages on LinkedIn and a lot of people trying to look out for good jobs, and especially in front-end. Front-end is a mess. Front-end is like you're jumping into a pool of sharks, and those sharks are Angular, React, and Vue, and you don't know where to begin, where to end. Are you really in there? Are the sharks even coming closer? It's difficult to even know how big the ocean is and how many sharks are inside, right? So let's say you are looking out for a front-end job outside in a very well-established organization, or in a startup that is doing really good, or maybe you want to start something on your own. I don't know. So that front-end job, you want it, but there's a catch there. You don't want to work on back-end. That's the kind of person you are. For example, I'm saying. So what do? You become an expert in let's say you become an expert in JavaScript, and you are expecting a very high paying salary in an organization. Of course, JavaScript is the fundamental thing that you should be very strong at if you are looking for a front end position. not just strong, you should be an expert in JavaScript, in my opinion. If you need a very high profile job, you need to be an expert in JavaScript. Other things you can manage, here and there you can manage, you can learn, you can, Google is there to learn, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, you name it. But the one thing that you should be a solid expert is JavaScript itself, because that is going to serve you for many years. So now that you are looking for a front-end position somewhere outside in a very well-established organization or a very high-profile job, what do you think the interviewer is going to expect you to know? I mean, or should I put it in a different phrase? What do you think the interviewer, how much of an expertise do they expect you to have? That is the question, right? So they already know that you are good at JavaScript. They already know you're good at HTML, CSS to some extent. What's the distinguishing factor between you and the other candidates who also want to become front-end developers and want to land on the opportunity? So it finally boils down to situations where interviewers talk about really deep concepts. One thing, if you're able to surpass those really deep concepts, and the other side of the thing is the interviewers want to know how much you have, whether you have scratched only the surface, you have gone deeper, or how much have you really tried to understand how the web is working as of today. I mean, are you living on boilerplates, or are you creating your own libraries so that others are consuming? Are you contributing to some open source projects out there, or have you started your own open source project? We don't know. I mean, the interviewers don't know. But one thing that they definitely expect you to know is what is happening behind the scenes. And when I say behind the scenes, I'm not just talking about how browser is handling JavaScript and how the V8 engine is working, or any JavaScript engine is working, or the event loop, or whatever it is that you think are the most important JavaScript interview topics. The thing that is going to set you apart is how much have you played with it. I'm using the word play because there are certain things that you learn and implement and you can call yourself you're skilled at that, and there are certain things that you play with. So when you play with something, you get to know in and out of what is happening around it. So how come Webpack is in this conversation? Because Webpack is one such tool that most of the developers or most of the people who are looking for jobs, they tend to overlook it because they think that this kind of questions are not going to come in the interview. Forget about the interview, because interview is only the second thought. It should be in your mind. The first thought should be to understand the concept, because if you understand the concept, interviews can come, other opportunities can come, different people will try to approach you, you teach other people. All these things are side effects. They are side effects of you getting to know the concept really well. So one of the reasons why people, some of the people who reach out to me is because I know something and I am trying to explain something that I know, which people might find it useful to enhance their career on top of it. I can sit quiet by not doing anything, or I can just talk about what I know so that you guys can also get benefited along with me, because I'm not seeing any side effects of doing this. I'm not even seeing value in sitting quiet, to be honest. So what's the point in gathering all this knowledge and put it on my backpack? I don't want to carry all this. I'm not carrying all this anywhere, right? So where was I? Yeah, Webpack. So the level of expectation from your interviewer will go to a certain extent that they will start asking you how JavaScript is bundled so that the browser can understand, and that's where Webpack comes in. At this point, to crack that interview, you would need to know what is happening. you would need to come out of boilerplates and see what is beyond boilerplates. For example, if you're a React developer, you're using Create React App boilerplate, project generator. Most people use it. Like 80 to 85% of today's React developers still use Create React App. There is definitely an advantage of using Create React App. It is going to set everything for you. You can get started within like minutes. Some things you might not even know it is going to set up for you, and it is going to hide it behind the scenes. It is well optimized. I'm not denying the fact that it is super useful. I'm not even denying that some third-party boilerplate generators are also useful. They're really useful for you. But are they really useful for a beginner who is trying to understand what is happening behind the scenes? That is the question. So when this question comes in, if you're a beginner, you start with Create React App. You don't know what is happening. We don't know what it is creating. All you see is a hello world application running up, and you see hello world and you see index.js and you're happy. Everybody is happy. You got some output. Fine. But how did it come there is the first point. So internally it is using Webpack. Okay, let me just open one of the Medium blogs and just read out what Webpack definition is. So you know what, let me just open webpack.js.org and let's see what Webpack is about. I'm not going to go really deep into Webpack. I'm just going to tell you what it is doing and what it is, what it has, how to use it and stuff. Maybe the entire Webpack tutorial can happen in a separate video. So Webpack, looking at the documentation, at its core, Webpack is a static module bundler for modern JavaScript applications. When Webpack processes your application, it internally builds a dependency graph which maps every module in your project needs and generates one or more modules or one or more bundles. So you might be using various different import statements in all those files in your project, components and configurations and files, constants, all those things. You might be having it in different files, and you might be importing it in main file and then using it. You might be reusing these files all across the project. But at the end of the day, Webpack is going to build a dependency graph out of it. It is going to inject all that code that you have scattered everywhere in your project, and it is going to create a single or multiple, sometimes, files that the browser can understand. So Webpack has like many features, like it has an entry point, it has an output, it has loaders, plugins, modes, various things. So let's just see the main things here. So one of the main things is the mode. In the Webpack mode, you can set either a production build or a development build. So when you set mode as development, so whenever you do a hard reload or whenever the application does hard reload, it is not going to create a complete minified production ready code every time you change something in your project. You typically use this while you are actually developing the project, and then when it's time to deploy the project for the users to consume it, then you would change the mode to production, where it is going to minify and do all kinds of optimizations and build that file that is of very smaller size, and the browser can understand it and pass it very quickly. So that's the entry point, and you also have the output in the Webpack, where you specify where your this packed output, where is it going to reside. So typically we use Node.js path to determine the path in the file system and where the output will finally reside. That's the output. Webpack also has loaders. So out of the box, and I quote, Webpack only understands JavaScript and JSON files. Loaders allow Webpack to process other types of files and convert them into valid modules that can be consumed by your application and added to the dependency graph. So you'll find a bunch of loaders out there, enabling Webpack to tap into all those different kinds of things and files which the Webpack will finally understand and try to bundle your project. So at a high level, loaders have two properties in your Webpack configuration. The test property, which identifies which file or files to be transformed. The use property, which indicates which loader should be used to do the transforming. So let's say you want to, let's take a very basic example. You want to use Babel to, transpile your code. So you would use certain rules to test what kind of loader you are using, and then where the output will be put in the file system. So that's a typical example. Apart from that, you also have plugins in Webpack, and I quote, "While loaders are used to transform certain types of modules, plugins can be leveraged to perform a wide range of tasks like bundle optimization, asset management, and injection of environment variables." There's a famous plugin called HTML Webpack plugin. So just check out in webpack.js.org. You'll find a bunch of plugins which add additional functionalities to Webpack. So now this podcast is not about how to use Webpack or what is the use of what are the applications of Webpack and what is the exact syntax and all that. This is more about me telling you that you should probably go and check this out before attending the next interview, because this could set you apart from the other from the other people. So let me give you one more example. Back in the days in 2017, I had a phone. I had a Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Yeah, the old phone that came with the Quad HD display for the first time, right? So I had options to just use the phone or tweak it a little bit because it's Android. iOS side, forget about tweaking. Or I had one more option to completely change the entire system by installing custom ROMs. So custom ROMs are a really cool thing on the Android side, where you can completely remove entire bloatware that the manufacturer would have put in your phone, and then customize it the way you always wanted your phone to be. So imagine if someone is learning Webpack, they are like the people who are trying to install custom ROMs in their phones. Of course, you do small tweaks here and there, which is equivalent to learning JavaScript deeply, I would say. But when you tap into Webpack and see what kind of miracles you can do with Webpack, it's like putting your hands, getting your hands dirty in installing custom ROMs and tweaking to the core, rooting your phone in custom ROM. So that's the kind of example that I would like to talk about when somebody talks about why I should learn Webpack before a coding interview. Most of the companies don't ask any question about Webpack, but why should I learn to that extent? This is one of those things which comes by experience, and you will start to appreciate how much is this tool giving you the power to do things that you never thought were possible. Even we don't know what are the kind of possibilities until we try to do it for the first time. That's how it is that's how it is anywhere. So that's a Webpack config for you, and go check it out, webpack.js.org. They have a documentation which is really good. If you want, you can check out even Medium blogs. Try to create an application which does not use create React app. Create a Webpack config file by yourself. First you initialize an npm project and git, and then you create an webpack.config.js, create an index.js file, create a sample application, and then use Webpack configuration to transpile it back to ES 2015 using Babel and rules, and then you will have a boilerplate of your own which you can use in your projects. So I'll create a different video of how to create a React application without using Create React app, but still achieving all the things that the Create React app is going to provide you. Okay, so one more thing is, if you really look at how much Webpack can allow you to do, I have come across a situation where I had to render something in the browser, but the code is not coming from the file system. Meaning, there was an app which I created, which tried to load different UI elements. The code was not coming from the code that was written in the application. The code was actually stored in a database, and then dynamically the code was getting parsed, and it was generating the UI. So how to get this code which is stored in the database, which can directly generate UI elements dynamically? So that code, I built it with Webpack. So that's the power of Webpack. It is going to give you a bundle which the browser can understand, that you can store in databases, and you can on the fly load components here and there. Many websites are using this technique. It's called dynamically loading content in the UI, and it's a really powerful way of dynamic content loading in apps and websites, which has become very popular nowadays in different editors, in those online editors that you see. So yeah, I might make videos on this as well in the future. But anyway, today's topic was about Webpack, and I hope I was able to convince you that you should probably go and check it out. Don't just learn JavaScript because it's a language and because you want to pass some interview. Learn it because you care about how the websites are working, how the web browser is behaving, why different web browsers behave differently, what's the difference between the JavaScript engines, how different is Node.js from a typical React website. I mean, what is the difference between them? Try to learn what are web APIs and their role in the web development process and all that. Alright, see you in the next one.